Hey, hey, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wealthy and Worthy Wednesdays. So, as you all know, we are checking in this week. As a community, we are going to walk away with some tips and some strategies on how we can continue to live our wealthy and worthy lives. All right. So, our topic for today is taking clarity and moving it to courage. Okay. And so this is about you making one tiny shift that can create some additional momentum in your life. Okay. So today, what I'm going to share with you and what we're going to be talking about is a 3-step pivot. All right. I often talk about pivots. Um, but I'm going to share with you a map that I wish I had sooner so that you can move from maybe being stuck or frustrated or overwhelmed into being strategic this week. All right. So if you haven't already, grab a notebook and I want you to be thinking about a decision, right? Think about a decision that you have to make, um, maybe a decision that you've been delaying or stalling in making. And we're gonna do some work, all right? We're gonna help you move forward today, okay? So as you think about, when we let me say this. When I talk about um moving from clarity to courage, right? Oftentimes what I find with my clients and even sometimes in my own life, right, is that we don't often need more information. You don't often need to know more, right? Usually, you know exactly what you need to know and you have the information that you need. Often, what is lacking is a lack of consistency and a lack of courage to actually implement, in other words, act on what you know, right? So it's not the clarity, it's the fact that we don't have always the courage to actually take action, okay? So if that is you and that's something that you've experienced, no shame, okay? Today we're going to do the work together to help you move forward. All right. So as I said, grab your notebook and tap in. All right. So if you are new here, drop me a line, let me know that you're here. And also drop any questions that you may have, okay, in the chat, because I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about how to move from clarity to courage. All right. So, one of the things that is important, right, that I always talk about with my clients is the fact that, as I said, oftentimes we don't need clarity. We don't need more information, right? Um, but what is important, right, as we think about moving from information to decision to action, right, is what does aligned work look like for you, right? So I want you to be reflecting on and defining, right, what success looks like for you in whatever the scenario you're in and whatever decision that you have to make, right? What would it look like to make an aligned decision? Okay? So that's the first step, right? Imagine, dream it, embody it, getting your body about it, right? Making sure that you're tapping into that, okay? And then the first step that you want to do is get clear, right? So clarity, okay? Write this down. Step number 1 is clarity, okay? And this is about defining the end from the beginning, okay? So what is the bullseye outcome? Where are you aiming? Okay? And so what I'd like for you to do is be thinking about how to break up this decision that you feel like you need to make in your life. How to break it up into 90-day increments, okay? So 3 months at a time, okay? So for the first 3 months, I want you to be thinking about what would success look like if I actually aligned right? The things that I need to be doing, whether that's your work, whether that's your career, business, maybe family, maybe your relationship, right? Whatever you need to do. What is the bullseye? Where am I aiming? What am I trying to get to, right? And how will I know if I hit it? Okay. So this one's super important, right? Because many of my high impact women, you will have a goal, you will work to get to that goal, you will accomplish that goal, and you will just move on to the next goal, right? And you won't even pause to acknowledge or even recognize that you've met the goal, the mission has been accomplished, and you should be celebrating yourself, right? Because that is what helps give you the momentum to continue moving towards additional goals, right? So, that's a super important, step, right? As we think about, um, how we want to accomplish these goals, right? So, let's see. Let me pull up my no sorry, I lost my notes here. Okay. So, that's number 1, okay? Number 1, first step, getting clarity. What is my bullseye? Where am I aiming? What does success look like for me in those first 90 days, right? Okay. One, I'll give you a bonus for this first step too, also, right? This bonus is thinking about which task or responsibilities that you have in your life that maybe look productive, but they don't move you towards your bullseye or your goal. Okay. That's kind of a little bit of extra tip, right? Be accounting for those things as well, right? Because oftentimes we can feel like we're busy, but there'll be a lot of movement and no motion, right? We want some motion, okay? I'm sorry, there'll be a lot of motion and no movement. Um, and we don't want that. We really want to be making sure that we have movement, right? We want to be effective. So that's number 1. All right. Step number 2 is about commitment. Okay. And these are all steps that are in my Legacy League community, that we go over in the Legacy League Mastermind. And so I'm just sharing a little tidbits of those pieces with you all here today. Okay. So number 2 is commitment. Okay. Now, this is about asking yourself, what boundary will you set? Are you willing to set to protect at least 60 minutes of focused time this week? Okay. What boundary will you set? Okay. Now, that can be a variety of things. It can be, hey, hey, hey,
Hi.
welcome to the chat. I am just laying out a few steps right now for how folks can move from clarity to courage.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so we've talked about the first step, which is clarity, right? Being able to define what success will look like for them as it relates to a specific decision. So I had them start with, okay, there's a decision that you need to make, whether that's in your life, in your career, in your relationships. And then how do we get clear, number 1, about what that success looks like for you? And I was just laying out for them step number 2, which is commitment. And this is
Mhm.
about them establishing a boundary that they are willing to set that will
Okay.
protect at least 60 minutes of their time this week to be able to focus on this thing that they need to be accomplishing. And
Okay.
then the third step that I want to outline for them, Jay, and then we'll get into some discussion around it,
Okay.
is courage.
Mm.
Is courage. And this actually dovetails really nicely with your session at Wealthy and Worthy.
Absolutely.
So you popped in at the perfect time. So courage and action, okay? I want you all to be thinking about, what is the smallest next right step?
Mhm.
Not just the next step. What is the right step for you that feels true to you, that feels aligned with you, that matches your desires to get you to that goal? Okay. So be accounting for that step, identifying that step, right? And then I want you to be considering, What is the fear story that comes up when you consider taking that step? Maybe when you've tried to take that step before? And what potential evidence do you have in your life that counters that fear story?
Mm, okay.
Okay. So those are the 3 steps that I want y'all to be considering taking this week, right? These are the things that are going to move you from clarity to courage, right? Because again, the information is not the challenge. What's the challenge is the actual implementation and being consistent and having support and accountability as you practice what you know.
Mhm.
Okay. So that is the kind of teaching part of our discussion today, right? And so I want you all to be really taking that serious, right? Because that is how you're going to move forward, all right? So for our discussion today, right, we're going to be answering a few questions that maybe or that have come up from a few of you that may actually relate to the broader audience as well, right? So one of the things that comes up that maybe Jeannie you can help us with is what how do we recover when we miss so many days of working on a plan?
Mm,
How do you return to it without shame
mhm.
and without feeling like you're starting over?
Hmm. Okay. So you're asking me a question, and while I absolutely love the question and respect that a part of the regimen we like to create for ourselves and the way that we like to show up in our lives, the way that we think is going to be productive for us to show up, is to try to avoid things like
Mm,
shame, try to avoid things like the feeling of starting over. Meanwhile, some of those, if not all of those emotional experiences, are actually very important to us getting to the other side. I am not a clinician who's going to tell you that you can do things that help you avoid. People say this to me all the time. Well, I want to tell my mom-in-law this, and I want to say this to my brother. However, I don't want to feel badly, or I don't want to feel guilty, or I don't want to feel like I don't want to feel like I'm the bad guy, and then there's a consequence where I'm hurting their feelings. And I have to say to them what I say to all of my patients, which is, you cannot avoid these things,
mm,
and actually it is to your detriment to avoid them. You need to feel these things, you need to have these experiences so that you understand you can get over them. You understand that you can palate them, that your body can handle them, that they are just feelings, that they are just certain types of states of mind that are not lasting, that will pass, that you can endure. And that is the only way to honestly move to the other side of them, is to have those experiences. So it's kind of a trick question. I don't think that's not something that we should be striving to avoid, right? I think the question that I would give to someone who is inside of that experience is, when I'm having the shame of having to start over, when
yes.
I'm feeling like I'm beginning again, am I giving myself the true grace and actually taking inventory to where I am? So
Mm,
if I've been working on a project a long time and I've stalled, I'm not starting that. This is not me starting from the beginning. This is me starting from where I stopped. And that's a long way forward from where I began. Right.
so
And
good.
how do we reduce the shame? In recognizing that and orienting ourselves to where we actually are, and
Mm,
in giving ourselves grace and kudos for where we've progressed to, and how we're not starting from the beginning. Right. We're picking
mhm.
up where we left off. This is a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Absolutely.
That's so true. Man, that is so true. Okay, I love that. All right. I love that so much. Okay, so drop us a yes, okay, in the chat if you can relate to that, right? Like where maybe you've had that paradigm of like, you know, I'm starting over, and like not realizing or recognizing that you're not. You're just beginning again, right? You're picking back up where you left off You're smarter, you're wiser.
So
Um,
much, so
mhm.
much.
Yeah, like, and that's not a bad thing. So,
Mhm.
I love that. Okay, I love that. Alright, so let's see what else we got going on. Let's see what other questions came in.
Well, we gotta hear what you think about that question as well. You don't want to take it on.
Um, yeah, I think it's a good question. I think I'll say this. I think it's a common question that comes up,
Hmm.
but I do agree with you about, like, it's all about how we think about it, right?
Hmm.
And realizing that it's not something to avoid, like you said, like, it's something that we can move through and metabolize and grow from. And I think sometimes even as I work with my clients around just this consistency part and like being consistent and holding themselves accountable to implementing and doing the things that they say they want to do,
Yeah.
um, I think sometimes the shame comes because the things that they're doing and working towards aren't things that they really want to do,
Yes. So true. Yeah, it's so true. They're
right?
engaging in something else, right? Something else that's a distraction, or um it's not to their kind of their caliber, their standard.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know they know they're underachieving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the things that are probably more aligned and true to what they want to be doing may just feel more risky or,
Mhm.
or maybe they feel pressure from family, culture, society, whatever, to show up and do a certain thing or present a certain way. And so
Mhm.
they don't feel like they have permission to deviate from that.
Mm, mhm.
And so I think it's a place of like getting curious,
Yeah.
being kind to yourself and getting curious about like, like I'm noticing this feeling and what is the feeling trying to share with me? What is it trying to tell me about what's happening right now?
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes, not even sometimes, for me, that's the harder road, right? Like
Yeah.
that is the harder road.
Mhm.
It is the path less traveled. Um,
Mm.
and it requires more of you, right? Because
Yes.
you need to get
Yes.
quiet, you need to tap in with yourself, you need to look at yourself, right? In full totality and in truth, and
Mhm.
that can sometimes be a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. It's absolutely.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that's what comes up for me where it's like, okay, I don't so I guess in that, I would say oftentimes when the shame, arises, it's like, it's not your shame
Right.
because if you were doing the things that you actually really wanted to be doing and working towards the goals that you actually had in your heart, there would be no shame,
Right. You'd be
right?
aligned.
You're being
Mhm.
true to yourself, you're not betraying yourself. Um, and so I think that's a major thing.
Absolutely. Love that.
So, yeah, yeah, I think that's a oof, oof, as I said, easier said than done. Um, okay, let's see, what are some ways oh, this is a good one. What are some ways to signal to others that a specific time is protected?
Ooh,
And do
that's a
you
good one.
I guess what it makes it interesting question to me is because to me, I'm like, I'm not sending no smoke signals. Imma just tell you directly it's this time is dedicated, whatever, but Imma let you
Mm.
answer this as a
Oh,
therapist.
absolutely. I think there's so many ways. I mean,
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in the external and the internal, right? And I think when it comes to other people, we often think like they're perfectly in tune to our internal because they should know us kind of a thing. So
Mhm,
I'm good for with other people signaling with the external. So there's so
mhm,
many ways you can block off a designated area for yourself that has a we have um you all know T to the T Decor, Miss Talana Davis,
mhm,
Mrs. Talana Davis. Her husband actually has a designated space, and it's
mhm.
adorable. Okay, this space has like this little clock. It's like a clock, right? A little clock
Yeah.
on it, and a little like a green and a red, and I think
Mhm.
even a yellow as
Really
well.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a signal that he's like it's the difference between him, like, being busy in the office and, like, you can, like, come on in a little bit, so it's, like, the difference between having rigid, porous, and then, like, just, like, in the middle boundaries, right? Because we can have softer boundaries that are porous,
Yeah.
so, like, "Oh, like, that yeah, this is my office, but if you
Mhm.
knocked, you could come in."
Right.
Or, "I'm recording right now." It's a no, no, no. It's very rigid boundary, "Do not come in, do not make sound, nothing none of
Yeah.
that stuff." So,
Yeah.
I liken his little symbol to that. And it's very, I think that's an amazing way to show people this is a protected time, right? It's saying, this
Yeah.
is my designated area. Do not come into my designated area. Stay your way out.
Yep.
Um, the other thing that is really good at signaling to others that this is a protected time is in you being away from others. So I'm
Mm.
not in the house during my protected time. Like I'm
Yeah.
literally, I've left the home.
Okay.
So you can't come and get me. You can't come and find me. Like you'd have to call me to get a hold of me, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
I've done the things like I've turned my phone off or I've moved it to like silenced so people can literally see if you're an Apple user, I'm sorry if you're not, I don't know anything about what you're
Sorry if
doing
you're
in
not.
life. Yeah, I don't know any I just because I'm ignorant to whatever it is you're doing in life, but Apple
No
products, and
worries.
this is not a plug for them, but they allow for you to understand when your friend is like signaling to you that
Oh,
they're on
yeah.
silent mode.
Mhm.
Right? It
Mhm.
says like, oh
Mhm.
here, hey, this person is on silent mode, and so they're not going to hear from you. So like that is protective, right? That there's nobody who should be calling you during that time. And if they are calling you, they know, hey, I'm not going to get her because she's in silent mode. Like she's either preparing to do something or go to sleep or whatever else. So you've got to have the little indicators that these are moments where you're not accessible. And that can be done very directly, like Dr. T said, or it can be done, through subtle signs, or it can be done through you like standing on business. And that's things like my phone's on silent and I'm not answering. People are texting and I'm not responding. Um, people ask me a lot about setting boundaries when it comes to other people and like protecting their space. And I always tell them, sometimes the hardest thing is not verbalizing boundary. The hardest thing is reinforcing said boundary. So you're
Mhm.
not controlling other people. People keep thinking it's about controlling other people. I said that you shouldn't do that and you can't do that because my boundary said you can't. That's not boundaries. Boundaries are you protect. So if I say time with my family is important to me and I do not have interrupted time when I'm at the dinner table with my family, well, then why's your phone there? Why are you answering text messages?
Mhm.
Why is the television on? You said this is uninterrupted family time and that you are all going to be enjoying each other. You have got to stand on that. Stand on business as the youth say today.
I love that. I love that. No, that's so good. That's really good because, again, when you say something, especially when you say it, right? You verbalize it, right? We are
Mhm.
voice, right? We are created in the image of God who gave us voice, right? To speak things that we want to see and declare things that are. And when we say something and our actions don't align with it,
Mhm.
we are teaching ourselves that we cannot trust ourselves. And I think that that is like the most important. If you walk away with nothing from today, right? I think you have to understand in order to move from clarity to courage, you have to know that those words and those actions have to align. And if they don't, that's okay. Just be honest about it.
Yes.
Right? And figure out, again, as I always say, right? This is never about shame or blame. This is always about figuring out how far off you are from where you want to be, and then
Mhm.
doing that inventory and then making adjustments as you need to. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's where we at. All right. So listen,
Accountability.
yes, we're okay. We're about at time now. Okay. So as we wrap this up, okay. So, okay. Now, all right. This is my smart class. Okay. So make sure that you got your notes. Okay. Now, if you're joining this late, I'm going to do a quick recap for you. All right. So, tiny shifts that can help you move from being stuck, being overwhelmed, being frustrated into being strategic, right? Because our topic today is like clarity to courage. How do we like make that shift? Okay.
Mhm.
Number one, we're getting clarity. We're defining the bullseye. Where are we aiming? And we're breaking that down in only a 90-day window. Okay. So we're going to make it a truncated short amount of time. Number two, we're working on commitment. We're figuring out what boundary we need to set to protect at least 60 minutes of our time this week so that we can focus, get into alignment with that goal that we're wanting to work on. And then number three is courage. Okay. This is about considering what is the smallest next right step for you that can create that visible progress that you're hoping to see as you move towards that 90-day goal. Okay. So those are our three steps. Now, as we wrap this time together, Jeannie,
Yes.
what would you suggest for the women watching that could help them stay accountable
Mm.
in the
Yeah.
next 90 days?
Whew. I love two big things when it comes to accountability: community and having an accountability partner. Something about that just like takes me far. I don't know what it is, but that's me. I'm someone who, and I mean, we
Yep.
work together so much. We do everything together.
Mhm.
Dr. Sienna is someone who will let you know, like, did you do that? Even not even did you just check the box of it, but did you enjoy it while you were inside of it? Did you
Mhm.
put your all into it like you said you would? I think something to having someone watching you and being with you, um, is a wonderful thing as far as like making sure that I'm holding myself accountable. I think the other thing that's really great is incentivizing it. I'm a big fan of incentives. I love to like tell myself, hey, you get this done, and this is what you're going to do so you can decompress, or this is what you can do so you continue to feel very connected to the work and rewarded by the work in a bigger way. So it could be something small. Some people like I'll take myself out for ice cream, or I'll have a date night with my partner, or something to that effect. I'm a big like, I'm going to do something kind of bigger. So I'm going to end up heading to the waterfalls, and I'm going to take the day and go do that. Or I'm going to buy myself some cute little, I send like little love notes to family and stuff like that. So I'm going to buy myself a new stationery for that. Like those kinds of things they're a big deal for me. So I think those two things, they'll hold you to what you say you're going to do.
I love that. I love a good incentive, okay? In our house, listen, we celebrate, honey. We
Oh, yes.
celebrate the big and the small, okay? We are making sure, okay, that if we accomplish something, even if it's an incremental step, right, that it was something big that we've been
Mhm.
working on or wanting to do, like we acknowledge that because that is what gives you the momentum to keep going.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Celebration and
Mhm,
community. It's
mhm.
everything.
'Cause life is
Mhm.
hard, it's
Yes.
hard, and you need those little moments of reprieve to kinda just, like, remind you of, like, why you're on the journey and why you're working towards these things and, why that growth matters. So,
Absolutely.
love that so much. So, that's all we have for y'all today. We are at our 30 minute, so we gonna honor y'all's time today. And if you have any other, questions or things. Oh, wait, somebody asked a question.
Okay.
Um,
Seems like right.
how do you manage the guilt when people get upset with you for not responding in a timely manner? That's a good
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, that's a really good one. One, first off, let me just say, I'm sorry that's happening to you. That can be really hard. Um, Having family or friends who, when you're trying to Take time to yourself. They're not understanding it. I would say, how do I handle it? Is first off, I take time to give myself the encouragement that I need in dealing with that. So,
Mm,
I'll say, like, you're trying to do something for yourself and people are having a hard time with it. That's not personal to me.
mm,
It's not personal.
mm,
They are not what they are communicating is a need, right? And many times when people want our time, it's a loving need. It's just a misguided need, right? It's misguided amounts of access. And what
mm,
you find in people who struggle with not being able to get a hold of you is that you've created historically a line and a connection to them that has allowed them to think, oh, I will always have access to her or him. I will always have access to him. They're the friend who's always gonna pick up the phone. They're the friend who no matter what they're doing, they're gonna stop, they're gonna put it down, and they're gonna come to me. So we've created that historically. And
mm,
there's a part of us that can take accountability for what that looked like historically and say, they're still, now that I'm doing something different, they're just still getting used to it. They're still getting used to it. And that's not personal to me. I don't need to attach any meaning to that. I don't need to um, share in or join with their upset about it. I just need to stay the course. And I'm a big fan of people taking time out to say to other people and hold themselves verbally accountable to their choices. So when someone's getting upset with you and they're saying, like, hey, you didn't get back to me, like, I can't believe you didn't follow up with me, saying, oh, you're right. Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't follow up with you. Actually, I used to do that all the time and I wasn't putting any time into myself. And it's really been costing me a lot. I've been sad. I've been unproductive. I've struggled with that. I can't keep up the standard that I created for you any longer.
mm,
And you don't have to be apologetic about that. If you want to, you can be. Me personally, when I change something and I find it hurts people, I'm big on, you know what? That wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't want to hurt you, but I need that time for me. I need to show up for me now. And what you're going to find is it's going to happen more often. And so I want you to get prepared because I love you and I want our friendship or our relationship to endure. But things are changing for me now. And I need you to understand that and get used to I'm not going to answer sometimes.
mm.
Step into it. Y'all want to back off so bad. Please don't. You feel guilty and you're like, "Oh, I feel guilty. I got to stop." That's not what that means. It's just a
Mm,
feeling. All right. It's a feeling sometimes that I've changed a pattern. It's not even a feeling that I'm doing the wrong thing. It's a feeling
mm.
that I've changed the pattern and that other people notice that I changed the pattern. And now I got to double down. I got to stand on business.
Come on.
I got to do it. I get you. I feel you. I've been there. It's
Yeah,
hard. But
heck yeah.
lean in, kiddo. Lean in. Lean
That
in.
is so, so good. Oh, that's so good.
I
That's
hope
so
that
good.
helps.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good. And I think too, you know, as you start to as Jeannie was mentioning, change the pattern, like you have to I always tell my clients this, right? Like stay the course because it life will recalibrate.
Mhm.
Like it will recalibrate, but it can be very, very difficult to stay the course, when all the feels are coming up. But like she said, it's an indication of a new pattern, not that you should do anything about it, right? Like it just is what it is. And growth can be hard and it can be challenging for people to be forced to engage with you in a new way.
Yes.
That can be really challenging for people.
Mhm.
And it can be challenging for you even to show up in a new pattern, in a new way as your new and evolved self.
Mhm.
But you will be so much better for it. You will feel better on the other side of it. Um, and you'll have that confident assurance in yourself, right? And what's important to you, and you won't feel that shame or guilt.
Mhm.
It won't impact you in the same way.
Yeah,
So it does get better.
it does.
Thank you for asking the question, but just know that it really does get better as time goes on and you continue to reinforce the pattern, um, lovingly, I will say that that is a big, big component, right? Like, we can change the pattern, but we can also be kind and loving to the people who are still catching up with the new pattern, right? And that I think is what I want you to take away from this, right? Because and this, let me just say this, because this has come up recently with a few of my clients who have grown by leaps and bounds.
Mhm.
And there's this, I'll just say what has been said to me, right? I have heard comments like, "Oh, he just doesn't wanna grow, and I've outgrown him, and,
Mhm.
I'm doing all this work, and he's just not interested," right?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so I think that, hmm, I wanna say this. I will submit for your consideration that when you do grow, because I hope you grow, and I want you to grow, and as you grow, stay kind, keep your heart soft, right? Because the people who were there with you when you weren't this version of yourself are still people who love you. They are still people who are invested in you. And while I don't subscribe to throwing people away, particularly as it relates to partners, because most of the women that I've mentioned these kind of things, it's like it's usually their husbands or
That's tough.
that they feel like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be together anymore because
Mhm.
I've grown by such leaps and bounds, and they're just kind of stuck in this place. And I would just say, find ways that you can continue to do your work and be loving and invite them into that space, and also be open to the fact that it won't look like what you've done. Right? It may not look like, like my husband's healing work is not going to look like mine, and I don't want it to, right? Because
Right.
we're completely different people, and we have completely different needs, we have completely different backgrounds and traumas and triggers, and it shouldn't look the same, right? If it looks the same, I would question it because I would wonder if they're just doing it just for you, um,
Right.
right? So, I say all of that to say, use wisdom and use discernment, but be kind, as you, progress and you grow and you see the dynamics change and you see people having a hard time adjusting. Stay in love. Stay in love, because that is what is going to help you navigate those challenges and help people deal with sometimes their disappointment. And sometimes their disappointment may come out as tantrums or anger or
Mhm.
just upsetness towards you about what you've done and how you're doing. But oftentimes, what I need you to know is that as human beings, we are self-centered, and so what they're thinking is, "What about me? What is
Mhm.
how does this impact me? How does this?"
Yeah.
And oftentimes it has nothing to do with you, and so just being mindful of how just human nature works, how people are wired, and that we're all on the journey, but we want to be kind and we want to stay in love for the people who are still trying to figure it out, still trying to relate to you in this new way, still wanting to maintain a relationship and a connection to you. Because when you love people, you love them. And so you're that doesn't change. And so you may have to change their role or their function in your life, but
Mhm.
you can still preserve that love.
Absolutely. Well said.
So
Well,
now we're way over, but
oh, I mean,
I
we had a
just
question. What are we gonna do?
we did have a question, and it was a fantastic
It was a
question.
great question.
There's
I
some
hope
good
you
discussion in the chat too.
good.
Um, somebody else said, "Yes, communicate the need for space if space is what you need, but ghosting might cause more guilt."
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
I wouldn't recommend ghosting. I'm not a big yeah. Mm-mm. Let's handle
Mm.
it. Let's try to handle it head on.
Mhm. Okay, we got another therapist in the chat that suggest to assess why you're unable to respond in a timely manner. Are you burning the candle at both ends? Do you feel
Mm,
overwhelmed
mhm,
that you're shutting down and so you're shutting
mhm.
people out?
Hmm,
Those are good
interesting.
things to consider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, those are good things to consider. That's really great.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, come on. I'm loving the little convos in the chart. This is good. I'm loving seeing y'all showing up. Okay. All right,
Awesome.
y'all. Well, listen, we done for real this week, okay?
Mhm.
So we'll see y'all again next week, same place, same time for Wealthy and Worthy Wednesdays. All right.
Right.
So we'll check in again soon.
Bye, everyone.